war and the military. Okay? Now, Mayo Zaytones, a book said that political power, and those we're talking about political power here. Political power grows out of the barrel of a gun. Okay? And we have defined war as organized armed conflict among two or more specially trained military groups. Okay? And then the question is, why do we go to war? I mean, what's the purpose of war? Okay? Is it just to say that we've got a good army or not? No. What we're really doing is we're trying to overcome opposition to something that we want done. Okay? Remember, power is the ability to get others to do what you want them to do, whether they want to do it or not. Okay? And as a consequence, sometimes words don't get it. And when words don't get the end you see, then we have a military to give us the end you see. Okay? And so technically that's the kind of thing that happens. Okay? Now, the other thing is that we create people, we create our citizens, and we socialize our citizens to accept war. That's what we do. Okay? And we do that as we begin at an early age. And you can understand that when you see people saying, support our troops, do so-and-so and so-and-so, that is a part of socialization. That is a part of the message we want to get down to young people. Okay? So that we are constantly telling them about our troops and all the good things that the troops do. Okay? Now, because what happens is that if the people don't accept war as a normal, I say, part of their society, then you have people who revolt against the war. Okay? Now, what has happened is that when we first started with our armies, okay, if you go back to the Revolution, when you go back to the American Revolution, what you discover is that one of our problems is that we didn't have an army. What we had, what each state had, was a militia. Okay? Just a group of ragtag people who said, well, we're going to defend our little area against things like if the Native Americans attack, or somebody tries to come and take our land, we're going to fight them back. Those were just militias. And you will discover that during the first, I would almost say the first 125 years or so, our armies were small. It was small. So even comparatively, when we had to raise an army to fight the Revolutionary War, it was still a small army compared to what we do today, and compared to the number of people that we had. And remember back then, people who fought in wars, if I was wealthy, when they first started conscription, what they told us was that wealthy people could come in and buy commissions with no military training, okay? But if they had enough money, they would buy the rank of a captain or the rank of a colonel, okay? And you will see this. So as a consequence, if you look at pictures of war way back then, you will discover that these people were very young, but they were wealthy people, okay? And if they didn't want to go to the war when they first started conscription, they could pay to have somebody else represent them. Yes. Okay? So if I didn't want to go to war, I'd say, well, look, here's my money. You go grab somebody else. Okay? And they'd say, fine. And you'll see that this is what just went on. And even though by military standards, the Civil War was a tremendous breakthrough in the art of war. Okay? But basically, it wasn't until the end of the 19th century well, that was, yeah, that was like right at the end of the Civil War and things. That by that time, we had been stretching from the Atlantic to the Pacific, basically. You will see that we went about the game of gobble up land, okay? Taken from the French, taken from the Spanish, buy some from the French, and taken from the Native Americans. Okay, that's what we did. Okay. Now, what happened is that even then we decided that we wanted to start expanding our influence abroad. Because what good is a country if you're only good in your own country? Okay, that's where all your influence is. So then we start trying to do that. And in order to expand your influence, what you need is you need a presence in other countries. And what gives you a presence in other countries? Remember, we weren't in the Air Force then. We had a big Navy. Remember, the thing that kept Britain all over the planet was the size of their Navy. Okay, so they could ship their troops all over the planet, okay, or over the globe, and set up a sphere of influence, which is exactly what the Teddy Roosevelt wanted, okay? And then what happened is that after World War II ended, and remember, in World War II, Russia and the United States were allies against Germany and its axis. Okay. But when the war ended, then all of a sudden, the United States decided that Russia was our biggest problem. And as a consequence, we went through what we call a Cold War. That everything we did was aimed at making sure that Russia did not take over the world. Okay? Now, so that if you saw pictures in the 1950s, say in the 1940s and early 50s, you'll see that the enemy was always German. Okay? By the time you get to the 60s, all of a sudden, the enemy started turning out to be the Russians. Just like today, the enemy is always the Arabs. You ever notice that? Okay? You have to see these connections, okay? That all of these things sort of tell you this is what our society is about. And you have to understand when you're being your thinking is being shaped. Okay? So now what happened is that notice that by that time Russia and the United States are basically the only superpowers on the planet. Okay? Now, but then what happened is that during this time we started using terms like national security. And the question is, what does that mean? And so now we have a government that is dominated by powerful military, foreign policy, and intelligence agencies. Military, foreign power, and intelligence. What has happened is that we now start thinking in terms of national security. Now the military forces want you to think that yes, we do these things because of national security. So now we've got a thought pattern that always takes us around to looking at national security. And you notice that half of the conversation today is about the same thing. When we do a war against whatever, if we say that somebody has missiles or mass destruction someplace, what terms do we use? We go after them because of our national security. That's our thinking for today. Okay? Yes.
Is the national security a part of like a just war concept?
And I would say yes, because I think that's where my thinking would take me. It's the type of thing that justifies whatever we do, even though it's hurting somebody else's soul, because we're really protecting our way of life. When we talk about our troops, you notice that we always attach the phrase, they protect the American way of life. Okay? If you look at pictures of Superman, you will discover that Superman is for truth, justice, and the American way. Okay? So we do that kind of thing, okay? And it seems so innocuous, but it hinges on your thought pattern, okay? Now, but notice what happens. What that means is that we now have a CIA that gets a tremendous proportion of a budget, and we don't even know about it. We have an FBI, okay? And we have the military. And if you ever stop to think about all the military people, all the people that we have put the guns in the hands of, if we had a list, we probably have about 20 different agencies where people are allowed to have guns. You have the FBI, the CIA, you have the sheriff, you have the police departments, you have all these little security agencies all over the place. You've got, you name it, and they all have guns, okay? All of our treasury agents carry guns. All of these people. And all of them are designed to give us security. Okay? That's what they're for. They're to make sure that we have security. Okay? Now, and then what you see is that the key here, okay, is that remember, even when Eisenhower went out of office, he sort of underscored what C. Wright Mills was saying about beware of the military-industrial complex. Okay? But now, here's the key. Our military actually believes, okay, that the world is a place where the military must exist. Okay? They earnestly believe that. Just like if you look at one of the differences between Republicans and or Democrats, you'll see that they both believe in their view of how the country should be. They both earnestly believe that. And our problem is that sometimes they believe it so much that they don't budge. So we come at a stalemate. And remember that our founding fathers deliberately put that in our Constitution. Okay? Now, so what happens is that at that point, we all start believing in this concept that the world is always against us. The world wants to destroy our way of life, and we have to be concerned about national security. Okay? And that's in our thinking, our daily